All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Advanced How to Become Money Workbook. We had to re-record again, so we're starting again. But today we are on chapter 5, luckily page 69, very excitingly. And we have Curry Glassell on today, who is actually the sort of she's kind of the head of Right Riches, and she's been repping for Right
The
Riches for
face. I'm the
10 years.
face.
She's the face, and she has been doing Right Riches classes for years and years and years. And as I was saying before, Curry has totally, kind of personally, facilitated me to change my financial reality. When I was, kind of starting out and stuff, she showed me all kinds of things and had me to her house for weeks at a time and has really, really shown me a different reality. So she has a lot to show all of us. And if we take it and use it, our lives will get better. So welcome, Curry, and thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Julia. Can you hear me okay? Is
Yes,
this good? Okay, good. I was going to say, yes, everybody should come spend a day with me. I don't
seriously.
know if I want them to spend a week or two because I don't know them as well as you, but for sure a day. So I'm really excited and grateful you asked me to be on this call. For one thing, I love access. I love the Right Riches classes. I've been basically purveying this point of view all over the world for many years. And I love the money books. And actually, all the classes I do, I created based on the very first book, the very couple of first books, how to become money, and money's not the problem, you are. Because I
Right.
have found with myself, I'm the only problem standing in the way of more money for me.
I found the same thing. What a
I
coincidence.
I am always the problem. And I tell you, Julia, the chapters you gave me, it was such a pleasure to reread them because after the 7 day in Costa Rica, they were so poignant and so apropos. And even though I have been asking for more consciousness for 17 years, I have to tell you, I had a recognition, a realization, and an awareness in the past few days, and post 7 day trauma. I'm in my post 7 day coming out of all that. That I actually had spent more time judging myself and stopping my own creation of money than I really. That is one thing that has stopped me from creating more. And I didn't even really see it clearly until the past few weeks and really into the past few days. And what I was obsessed with was fixing what was wrong with me. Like every little minute thing, when I fix this, then I'll be able to create $50,000 over there. Or when I fix this, oh yeah, then
Yeah.
I'll be aware of how to create something else. And that is absolutely like anti-consciousness, actually. I was perpetrating anti-consciousness on myself in the creation of my future. And it gets right back to what is the wonderful title of chapter 5. What do you want to do with your life? What are you lacking with your life? What is missing in your life? And for me, I was missing really coming out of pleasing everyone else and getting it right. And just saying, fuck it, I'm going to do it my way. I don't even know what my way is, but I'm going to find out and figure out what my way is. Who am I? And I'm going to live life my way.
Yeah.
And these tools are so great because if you read them and you read these books, if you read them, they're in your face. They're in your face, the tool
Totally.
in your face. I mean, I'm looking over creating beyond this reality. I mean, again, it's about being. What would you have to be to create beyond this reality? I'm going to have to be something completely different than I was last week
Right.
because I'm looking to create millions of dollars and to change the world and to help support not only, and fund the castle and access schools. And it's like, yes, hashtag I'm not poor, and what else is possible? What can I do with the wealth I have to create more? And hashtag, I'm not as stupid as you said I was. You know, for all those people, that we grew up around that told us we were stupid. I mean, I don't know if you had that, but for me and many people, my family told me I was stupid my whole life.
Right.
And I believed it. That was the stupid part.
Yeah, that's the only place you were stupid, is where you believed it. Everything else, brilliant.
And how are you going to create your future? How are you going to create a different reality with money, with your business, with sex and relationship, if you think you're an idiot?
Right.
Then you're constantly coming from a place of judgment and negativity.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you get it when you get it, but I'm just hoping that the people who are listening will begin to ask questions so they can head towards getting it faster than me. Hopefully it won't take you 40 years. Hopefully you guys are a lot smarter than me. And you can just listen to Julia and me and Gary and Dane, and you guys can get it a lot quicker, hopefully, because
Yeah.
we've been there before you. So that's, I mean, what do you want to do with your life? What is everyone on this telecall, what are they looking for to do with their life? Are they just sort of harem scarum? Are they headed in a direction they don't like, they do like? Have you made an honest, like, wait one second. Excuse me, guys, could you not talk, please, quite so loud? Thank you. Have you looked at your life honestly and said, oh my God, this is what I'm creating? This is what I'm creating. And is it what you'd like to see in your future, or is it 50% of what you'd like, or 25% of what you like? This is where the rubber meets the road. Really look at what you have. What did you create last year financially? What did you create last year with your relationships? Are you happy with it? Sort of happy with it? What would you like to change? Because it's all going to be around you and being something different.
Right.
I mean, I'm just like, I was laughing and crying when I looked over these chapters. I mean, I just marked them up again and again. And I'm like, everything you asked me to look over and read. And I mean, and chapter 6 is wealth and fortune.
Right.
And I'm like, ho, ho, ho. And it's like, are you guys asking to be rich and famous? Have you even let those words come out of your mouth?
Right.
If you don't ask, how can you start heading in that direction?
Exactly.
So what would it take for all of you to begin to ask? What do you need to be and do different to begin to ask out of your mouth every day? Fame and fortune, where are you? Fame and fortune, who are you? Fame and fortune, when are you? And fame and fortune, come to me. What would it take? What do I have to be? What do I have to be and do different? Where's my fame and fortune? Where's my fame and fortune? I think I just heard,
Over here.
I just heard
We're
Nate come
trying
in
to
the
get
door.
you.
Come in and say hi to the telecall. So Nathan just walked in. His part of my fame and fortune right here. This is
Now that's the face of fame and fortune. There's fame and fortune. We found them.
So we're talking about fame and fortune, and you've got to ask for it, because if you don't start asking, that's like the first step.
I mean, she asked me today to bring over these antique china plates and look.
Oh, we can't hear Nathan very well.
Oh, that's because you have to talk in. So
I mean, today she asked me to bring over some antique china plates, so I did.
they accidentally got sent to his house. I gave him a bunch of beautiful china, and so I have my saucers back. I'm really excited about it.
I love it. I love it. Hey, Curry, I would love if you could talk about, like, a little bit about your upbringing and, like, the way that you are with money that most people aren't. Like, that's just, I love hearing you talk about that, because you literally drink out of gold cups and silver cups and silver cutlery, and you have maids and house managers in and out of your house all day long. And I just think it's amazing, and it's a totally different reality than most people are used to. But can you talk about the financial reality that you have created?
I can attempt to. Questions would be really helpful, because one of the things is that until you bring it up to me, I don't know that I'm that different.
Right.
I never think that I'm like that different. That's not something I think about.
Right. And to me, it's like the first time that I came to your house, I was just like, oh my gosh. And Shannon O'Hara said on a call last year, I was telling you this, she said, when I went to Curry's house for the first time, there's just, in Curry's house, there's a lightness and there's a sense of possibilities and there's a greatness there. And she said to her dad, Gary, the founder of Access Consciousness, she said, what is that, Dad? And he said, that's peace with money. She said, oh, that's peace with money. And it's like you have this incredible peace with money that you just be, and it's just so fascinating to me. And I've used it as a building block or a springboard from which I have created the money that I have created, especially in the past few years. And I know it's just who you are, so it's kind of hard to talk about, but it's just amazing. Like just some of the things that you have chosen, like it could be bragging time. You can talk about, it sounds like bragging, but it's so inspiring to us.
Well, what comes to me immediately, Julia, when you ask that is that, for better, for worse, I was not raised with any monetary lack.
Right.
So I was raised with plenty of emotional lack.
Yeah.
I was abused in many, many ways.
Mm-hmm.
However, I didn't ever question that I wouldn't have a roof over my head. I mean, I'm just thinking about how I was raised, and I was always surrounded by silver, fine silver, and the place was set, and the butler announced dinner, and the cook and the maid were in the kitchen cooking away half the afternoon, and that's the household I grew up in. So I tell you what's interesting, though, even though I grew up in it, it wasn't until I met Gary Douglas that I began to embrace the joy of having money. I've always had peace and ease with money, but Gary helped me embrace the joy of it, because even though my quote family, even though I am a walk-in, so they're really not my family, but my family had lots of abundance and things that most people don't have, they didn't have any joy with it.
Right.
They were never happy, I don't believe, one day of their life. And they're still not happy, even though my stepbrother and stepmother have over half a billion. Is that it? Yeah. My
Like
dad's estate.
500 million?
Yeah. My dad's estate was lowballed at 600 million. So they've got half of that to play with, and the other half went to a museum charity. So for it to go down in perpetuity, that my dad's name would be on the building anyway, and pay salaries and whatever. So I really began to embrace the joy of having nice things. And that became very important to me, and it gave me a sense of peace. And I'm happy to walk around my house and show you guys some of the most fabulous things I have too, because
yes, we would love to see
really people are amazed when they come in my house. I just had Merlin here for a week after the 7-day, and actually I left his little towel. Oh no, they picked up the towel. But anyway, I should show you outside, because my cabana, well, first of all, you have to see my amazing mummy, which I love. That's like my guardian. That guards me. So, it's gotten cold out, Julia. Okay,
Yeah.
so here's my backyard and my cabana. And there's my pool, which is about 96 degrees, so you can swim in it and be comfortable, because why have a pool unless it's heated? I mean, I'm just saying.
Totally.
Just that's part of my reality, but that is totally me being extravagant. That is me being extravagant for me, and me enjoying the lifestyle I can afford. Now, when I was growing up,
Uh-oh. So now she's going to go on a tour, but we have to keep her within internet service. Curry, come back to us. Therese, will you pause the recording? great.
So this is my living room. There's a beautiful painting of an artist that I repped years ago. And when I had him in my gallery, his paintings were worth $15,000. And today, they're going for $70,000 plus. So that's one of the things that I actually, before Access, I didn't actually know that I had a knack for collecting things. I love the little girl who's dancing in the background over there. Is that Teresa?
It's Teresa's little boy, yeah.
Or little boy? Oh, he's doing a dance. Anyway, I didn't realize that I had the knack for certain things.
Right.
And this gives me joy. I mean, let me turn on my lights. It'll be easier too. Oh, there we go. Lights, camera, action. Oh, and you have to see my bar. Because, oh my God, look at these beautiful, can you see them, the glasses?
Mm-hmm.
Those I got in Venice. They're real gold plated and they're beautiful. And there's my incredible grandmother who is always looking at me going, "You must have fierce dignity, Curry." That's all I ever hear her say when she looks at me. "You must have fierce dignity when you go forth into the world." I'm like, "Yes, Grandma. Yes, Grandma. Okay."
I love it.
So it's great, actually. So I don't know how else. This is a beautiful cabinet. It's an Art Deco cabinet. And this magnificent, if I can not back into it, this amazing Art Nouveau, amazing, just beautiful,
Wow.
beautifulness. Isn't that the most beautiful thing you've ever seen in your life?
It's stunning.
Yeah.
It's stunning.
Awesome.
Is that new?
It's from the 20s, so it's not really new. But
No, but is it new to your house?
maybe since you were here. Is it the past year? Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it in the past year. So I am really, what I tell you, what I have become to have more of in my life is gratitude for the things I have. Like I walk into my home and I go, oh, thank you, table, thank you, chair, kind of like Goodnight Moon, but it's like hello house.
Yeah.
Like,
and you can tell, like, the people who come into your house can tell that you have played Hello House, because the level of gratitude that lives in your house, that is your house, is like this huge facilitation for everybody who comes there.
Yeah, thank you, Julia. And as I recall in the Right Riches Few book, isn't gratitude one of the keys to creating a greater financial future?
I think it is.
So that would be something that would be, I think, really valuable for the people on this call and people all over the world, is to begin to have gratitude for what they do have, as opposed to focusing on what they don't have.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, how rich are you actually that you've never acknowledged?
Right.
And richness comes in all kinds of shapes and forms.
Yes.
I mean, it's nice when it's monetary, and what if it's in a piece of art, or what if it's in a friendship, or what if it's in a home? I mean, so there's so many ways richness can come into your life.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So my life. So what, like, if you were really curious about something, what would you ask me? I need to learn how to talk more about myself, but I don't think I'm very good at it.
Well, I would love to get to the book, but I would love first to hear about, like, when you were growing up, how did your father make his money, and what was his relationship to you?
Okay, so that's easy. That's more specific. So, actually, my father was brought into partnership with my grandfather. My grandfather was the original oil catter, businessman, entrepreneur, wildcatter. He was the one that took all the risks. He was the one that was not rich starting out. He was the one that made all the money and then kind of gave it to my father, which, of course, my theory is why my dad was such an asshole and a dick, because he was given all this wealth and he never had to learn how to be nice to people or kind to people, or I don't know. I don't think the man ever liked anybody he ever met. So he had this, maybe he came in just like horrible, but having all that money, people kiss ass for money. Have you ever noticed that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I watched all my life people kissing my dad's ass for money, and I thought, that's a really ugly ass, you know? I mean, that's like, this person is not nice. He's not kind. He doesn't give a shit about you or anything. And basically, I watched him make people like lower themselves to the ground just for $1 or for $100 or whatever, just grovel. And he seemed to take some kind of sick pleasure in that groveling too. This is a man who I have absolutely nothing in common with at
No.
whatsoever. And so growing up, I left as soon as I could. I left at 15 years old. I put myself in boarding school, which was my number one survival technique, and I never went back to that household except the first 3 months of my divorce from the boy's father, because there wasn't really anywhere else for me to go, but I should have just rented an apartment. That was really not bright. But after a few weeks of being in that house again, and the only people, and this is like a 20,000 square foot home, right, in the nicest part of Houston. Only him and my stepmother were living in it, and all, like probably 4 or 5 different help. But they didn't live there. They just came in for the day. He came up to me and goes, "This house isn't big enough for 2 women. You need to get an apartment and move out within a week." I'm like, I have a 3-month-old and a 4-year-old, and I'm doing victim really good at this point, wah, 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 whining about not being married and what a failure I am. And I was like, fuck, I have to go find an apartment. But you know what? It was better than being in that house with those 2 people.
Right. Yeah.
So those are 2 interesting parts of my life. Now, my grandfather, who was only alive till I think I was 8 or 10, he was always really a happy person. He was like a gambler and a drinker and the life of the party and that sort of thing. And everything opposite of that would have been his son, the person who is supposedly my father. But not this being.
Right. Right.
Thank God, thank God, thank God.
Cool. So, Orla has a
So,
question about this. So, hi, Curry. How do you change a mindset to create little amounts of money to larger sums of money? To me, creating a small amount for something is possible, but transferring that to much larger amounts makes it seem very far away and almost impossible. What would be a good question or things to do to change that? Thank you.
okay, let's go up to.
So how do you change a mindset from creating little amounts of money to larger sums of money?
Well, really, really easily. You just start asking, so what do I love about small amounts of money? Everything that brings up. I mean, let's start at the basics. Right, wrong, good,
That
bad,
has a
POD, and
lot of
POD.
energy on it.
Right?
Yeah.
What do I love about creating small amounts of money? That would be where I would start, because there's an energy there. And, what do you not love about large amounts of money? You just start right there where your initial block is. And, what decisions, what choices, what judgments do you have about large amounts of money? So, what do you have to be and do different? What do you have to be that you don't want to be to create large amounts of money? Or what do you have to do that you don't want to do? Okay, so let's look at, so what is being required of you that you're not willing to be or do? Because money doesn't grow on trees unless you're a farmer and you have an orchard, rather, not an orchid, that's a flower. But you can also make money from orchids too, I mean, actually that's the most expensive flower ever. But right, so money isn't going to grow on trees or flowers unless this is your business. So you're really going to have to do this really horrible 4-letter word, which, Julia, you know it really well. You're one of the hardest working facilitators I know.
Thank you.
WORK.
Yep.
And what I have found is that if you can look at, I don't really desire to work, then that's where you start. So you have to look at, well, if it's going to take ABC, it's going to take 6 hours for me to put into my Facebook group per day, 3 days a week. What's stopping me from choosing that? What is your basic point of view about work? And so you just look at all those things that, Nate, can you not do that right now? Thank you so much. you, you, you start looking at the basics. I mean, she laid it out. Did she write something else? Because she laid it out. So she loves creating small amounts. So first of all, you don't transfer at all. You just begin to ask, what can you be and do different to create more money? So what can you do or be today to generate $1,000 right away? That's one of the questions that I give all my clients and class participants. That's where we start, because usually $1,000 right away is kind of yummy, you know. That's like always nice. Everybody seems to be happy with an extra $1,000, right? So, and if it's a stretch for you, then so what's not a stretch? $500? And then so you look at, well, my other question would be, have you made an expense report of what it costs you per month to live? This is another one of those really boring tasks that changes your life entirely. Because when you know how much it costs you per month to live, not only you, but your business, then you are able to go, oh, shoot, I actually am spending $1,000 more than I'm bringing in. Okay, now I know I need an extra 1,000. Some people have found that they weren't spending as much money as they had coming in, and then they weren't grateful or appreciated and didn't acknowledge it. And if you don't acknowledge what you're doing, then you can't grow on it and expand it. So yes, a lot has come up with everything you asked, not being willing to be seen. So pushy, well, you have to be willing to be seen, of course, but you have to be willing to be a pushy bitch. And so everything doesn't allow you to be the pushy bitch when you need to be the pushy bitch. Will you destroy and uncreate all that?
Yes, ma'am.
Pock and pot all that. So I think that ties into asking for wealth and fortune, and what would you like your future to be like? So what are you not willing to be that, if you would be willing to be it, would change your financial future right away? Yeah, and you can stick with the simple tools, And then if you find a particularly stuck place, then you can, look up at all the brand new processes that have come out in Access, and you can apply them. Do you have an agenda that's keeping your creation small financially? If you do, then all the agendas keeping me financially small, pock and pot, all that. Do you have any jails? Those are the new processes. So you can apply all the Access processes, but you have to first be honest with where you're stuck and
That's one of
address
the
that.
biggest mistakes that I see people making, is they're lying to themselves about where they're stuck.
Yeah. And lying to yourself, I wish it was easier to notice. Because actually, and I'll give you my example. So me always looking at what's still not right about me is me lying to me.
Yeah.
Me constantly thinking, and hear my words, thinking that I have to figure it out logically before I can take another step forward. That's a lie that I'm buying, and that's sticking me from creating. If I think I have to fix this piece before I can create, is that true, or is that a lie or an invention or something
Right.
I'm just creating? It's a creation. So how many lies have you used to stick you and stop you from creating the fortune you really are capable of creating, perceiving, receiving, and having?
Right.
Oh, and here's another thing, just really basic. Do you enjoy having money, or do you enjoy spending money? And really, really take a look at that, because sometimes, like, when I first asked that question of myself years ago, I would have to say I enjoy spending money more than having it. It was an action. It was something to do. When I had money, it was like, yippee, I can go get this and this. And then I started to look at, okay, well, if I spend everything I have, what's going to be in the future? So then you start to put away your 10% fund. So at least you have 10% for the future. You know, if you're going to spend 90%, I of course would encourage you to not spend 90%, which I have encouraged myself as well. You know, but at least if you're putting away that 10%, you are creating a future, and that's a beginning, a very beginning.
Yeah. She says, 1,000 things came up already in this conversation.
Yeah, this is I love money classes. I love talking about money. I actually did not realize until I met Gary Douglas that I loved talking about money. Because one of the other things in my childhood, children were supposed to be seen and not heard. We're not supposed to talk about anything. We're not supposed to talk about maybe the weather. I don't know what we're supposed to talk about. It was so weird. But we were really not allowed to talk about money. We were not allowed to talk about ourselves. Nothing. It was a very weird environment.
Right.
In many ways. You know, we weren't even allowed to sit on the furniture downstairs, except if they had a party. Oh yeah.
Oh my.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So all that glitters is not gold, my friend.
Absolutely. Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking
That's really
pardon me.
and you know, Pock and Pod, it's really, you know, I really appreciate you asking these questions because I have not made it a point to talk about my life very much. I am in the middle of writing. My book is almost finished, but even then, I can't, you know, really talk about all this stuff. I talk much more about myself in my classes and when people ask questions, you know,
Yeah.
because there are a lot of people who've been through different types of negative situations with their family, and yeah, you can change that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like when I first met you, I was just like, oh my gosh, like this lady is so amazing. And, you know, you were such a great speaker and you were just, were such a possibility in life and with money and with everything that you were. And you got up in a class once and said, like 15 years ago, you said 15 years ago, I couldn't get up and speak in front of a crowd. And I was like, excuse me, what? Like,
Yep.
I didn't even believe you. Like, I was like, how is that even possible? But it just goes to show you how much the tools can change a person so quickly.
Yeah, it's really true. It's really true. And I was, you know, it's weird though. It's like your life goes in waves. I mean, I think I was really outgoing as a kid. And then once I got to be a teenager and drugs, sex, and rock and roll, and then, you know, I was face to face with all these different forms of abuse. And then I began to go into my shell.
Mm-hmm.
And I really never came out of my shell until after my divorce. And I started seeking, you know, how am I going to take care of these kids? How am I going to get out of the debt I've incurred? I had a huge debt with my divorce from my ex-husband. I was in $2 million worth of debt. And so I had to begin to get really practical about my life and what I was going to choose. And thankfully, not long after my divorce, I met Gary Douglas. So I'm very grateful.
Yeah. Yep. He's a reality changer. So let's get to the book a little bit. I would like to talk about your chapters now too.
My chapters. I tell you, the chapters you gave me are like 3 weeks worth of class.
They are.
So what do you want to just like look around? I really got the people listening, that one of the big hits I got for them would be being willing to be a fortune. That you guys must be willing to be a fortune.
Cool. Let's dive into that.
Yeah, because it was just so in my face, and please reread page 82 and 83, because he's talking about the lady's grandfather who made saddles, and with saddles uh, he traded for land, and he traded for cattle, and he could make saddles, and he ended up creating a fortune because he could make saddles and they were valuable, and he made the best saddles possible, and people were willing and needed those items. So what is it that you guys can do that's already amazing and needed out there that you haven't actually acknowledged? You know, what capacity, what talent do you have that you've never acknowledged that's actually easy for you.
Hmm.
So, and this is again what he says right here, creating a fortune is about the capacity to see what's possible and then saying, okay, I'll do that. So you have to say, I will do that. You have to put this action. This is a do-do universe, a do-do world, a do-do reality. Not only do you have to acknowledge that you can make the saddles, you have to be willing to actually make them and then go sell them. You have to get out there and ask who wants one of these, and that's the work part. And at the same time, that's also the creation of the fortune part. And then so my next question would be, so are you actually, have you blinded yourself to perceiving what could be your fortune?
Great question.
Right? Because if one of the keys is recognizing whatever shows up in your life can be used to create something greater, you have to be willing to recognize it. You have to be willing to perceive it. You have to be willing to receive it. So where have you refused to receive or refused to perceive what you have in your hands already? This is huge. And something all you guys can change by one point of view, one choice.
Right.
Right? So wealth and fortune, it's, and then again, where we started out. And again, you know, it says in the book, if you don't seek your fame and fortune, you cannot find your fame and fortune. And as I was saying earlier, guys, start asking, where is my fame and fortune? Start seeking your fame and fortune. That again is a doing, right?
Right.
It's an action. It's an action you're putting forth.
Curry, this is Tanya.
Hi, Tanya.
Hi.
Where are you? Are you
So-
invisible? Oh, there you are.
It's a
Hi.
little dark in my corner here.
Oh, no. Well, yeah, now I see you.
Yeah. So something comes up for me when it's like fame and fortune, and it's like there's this like contraction that I'm perceiving with the fame, and it's like, so I must have a bunch of points of views about what that
Well,
looks
okay,
like.
so can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So were you ever killed for being famous and rich in
Yeah.
any lifetime?
Yeah.
Okay, so would you be willing to destroy and create all the DJCCs you created to never be that or have that do that again?
Yes.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pocket, pot, all nine shorts, blows me on. So I don't know, you know, how many times you stuck yourself in that, but then you might start asking, if that doesn't clear it right away, you might start asking, how many agendas do I have about being rich and famous? And everything that brings up for you, right and wrong, good and bad, pocket and pod. Just begin to pocket and pod yourself and start running some of those processes over and over again until you feel lighter about it. And when you can say, where's my fame and fortune, without a point of view, without a heaviness, with like, yeah, then you know you're clear.
Cool. Thank you.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Cool. I have 25% battery. I wonder if, is that going to last the whole, is this an hour call or an hour and a half call?
No, it's 90 minutes, so you might need some juice.
I might need some juice. I might need some juicy juice. Well, let's go to the bar and get some juicy juice.
So Sharona has an awesome question. I don't have a problem with money, with having and creating large amounts of money. I've done it and I do it. The difficulty is finding ease with creating it continually. I feel like I need to unvent myself all the time. Maybe invent myself all the time. What can I be or do to change it? Curry?
I think she dropped off.
We lost her altogether.
I'll pause.
Thanks, Therese.
First of all, Sharona, what are you choosing? What are you choosing? Okay, whew, I just had to get that out. Yeah. So many truths and lies of equal force and magnitude stuck there. If she's willing to look at some of that,
I am.
that's where I would start. Where's the little chat there? Okay, chat is erased. Oh, how cool.
Oh, because you came and left, but that's okay. But she's basically saying, I don't have a problem. Look, you're right here. Do you want to just speak for yourself, Sharona?
You do it really much better than me. So
Okay, I'll speak for you. I don't have a problem with having money and creating large amounts of money. I've done it and I do it. The difficulty I find is with creating it continually.
Because, wait, for one thing, the energy right here is stopping on I've done it. If you've done it, that's a finite, that's a end. So what if you were to be in the process of continually creating and doing, and destroy and uncreate, pock and pod everywhere you've done it, everywhere you've been an asshole and done it, everywhere you've been a cutie pie and done it, everywhere you've had a point of view that you're bored with it because you done it, would you destroy and uncreate all that?
Yes.
I think the key point is process. When you said process, now I got it. Okay, now I've got it. Thank you.
Awesome.
Process.
Well, the thing is, we tend to stop ourselves by the words we speak and the thoughts we think.
Yeah, definitely.
Even that little bit, I've already done it. Been there, done that, bought 3 t-shirts. Feel that energy? That's a stop energy.
But I also wrote that I do it. So,
yes, but if you're doing both at the same time, what are you creating?
nothing.
Okay, so what if you were to give up stopping?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And what else is possible?
Yeah.
And instead of unvent, what if you reinvented?
No, I meant invent. I feel that like I need to invent myself all the time, new courses, new idea, new things, you know. And it's not a fear, but it's the sense that I have to do it all the time. That's what makes me tired.
Okay, so is that you or something else? Or someone else, that point of view that you have to do it? Yours, something else, or someone else?
Someone else's.
Yeah, that would be really uncomfortable. So you could be aware that it's not yours, not yours, not yours, and not buy it as yours. Yeah, set yourself free from other people's points of view, because that can definitely weight you down. And please keep reinventing yourself, destroying and create.
That's what I like to do, you know.
Yeah, and then you're smiling when you do it.
Yeah.
It's only when you're like, oh, and then I have to, and it's like, no, you don't. You don't have to do anything. There's no have to. That's other people's stuff. That's all other people's stuff, not my stuff.
And I like, you know, sometimes, you know, the answer is a one word, you know, the process. Now it's like clicked now. So thank you.
Ah, you like that word, process. Yes.
No, it's a process. That's what I don't need to see when it starts and ends. It's a process.
Yeah, no ending. Right. Exactly. Well, thank you so much for your question.
Thank you. It's really lighten up now.
Yay! Awesome. I like if you just keep saying, I don't have problems anymore.
Yeah, I don't have some. I don't have any.
Awesome.
Nick says, love your energy, Curry.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
He's a very cute Frenchman.
Oh, he is. Well, there you go. What part of France? Did I tell you that I'm going to France for 3-4 months?
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Awesome.
After my Italy classes, I'm going to go hang out. And I'll come back here for a couple of the classes in Houston, but I'm going to go look for an apartment in France for March, April, May, and June.
That's magical. Oh, he's
I
from
know.
Dijon.
Dijon, where the mustard is.
That's
Mustard. Ooh, I like
peppermint.
it. I'll have to go to Dijon. What I'll have to do is when I get there, I make a little Facebook page for all my French friends and see who wants me to come visit them.
I like it.
I'm so excited. It's a dream come true for me. I've always wanted to spend a month in France, and now I'm going to spend 3.
And
So
3. That's awesome.
I know. I'm excited. I'm excited.
Awesome.
So
So
can you
Orla's
talk?
asking, can you
Yeah.
talk about using what is easy for us to create money and finding out what it is?
Yeah. So again, this is a question I have been asking myself a long time and talking about in my classes. I kind of titled this idea Becoming Your Own Financial Guru. And so this is what I call it: when you begin to ask and seek, what am I really good at? What's really easy for me? And for me, it was talking. And I was like, I used to be really negative and go, yeah, right, talking. That's the only thing I'm good at, talking. How the hell am I going to make money talking? Well,
You
turns
found a
out
way.
turns out we have a social media universe, and turns out that if I keep talking, people are going to start listening. You know, I started talking on a podcast in April, and I've had over 45,000 people listen to me. I'm like, dang, okay, I'm going to talk and people are going to listen. Now, what else is possible? And I just keep asking questions because I like to talk. I like to talk about money and sex. Those are my 2 favorite topics. So it could be fun. I sort of had this fantasy about being the female Howard Stern, but we'll see if that shows up.
You kind of are already.
Now, if I have so many people, if I get to like 100,000 listens on my podcast, then advertisers will find me and seek me out or something. So my target is to invite 100,000 people to listen to my podcast. So it's
Awesome. I
cool.
love it.
I know, I'm excited. So the question is using what's easy for you. So, Oria, what's easy for you? I mean, that's the big thing. What is easy for you? I mean, do you make even baking cookies? You know, Gary tells a story about this woman who was, when he was selling real estate years and years ago, that she used to bake cookies for the open houses. And she loved baking the cookies. And her cookies were so good that the other realtors started offering to pay her to bake cookies for their open houses. Long story short, she quit real estate and opened something like Debbie's Delights or something like that. And she ended up making like $60 million in her baking business. Can you believe it? So that's an example of using something that's easy for you and fun for you. Because if you love what you do, then it's never like work. Ooh, something just dropped. If you love what you do, it's not work.
So Orla, do you want to say what you were going to say?
Yeah, I don't know if my sound is going to be very good. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Just yell.
Yeah, so the thing that I guess I know is easy for me is speaking different languages. I speak
Uh-huh.
languages.
Wow. Okay.
Aside from that, every time I ask that question, I haven't come up with anything else. And I guess I'm also associating it with what I love to do. And I don't think what I love to do is what I'm really good at. And what I'm really good at is not necessarily what I really love to do. So does that make sense?
Well, what makes sense is you might want to run everything's the opposite of what appears to be and nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be 30 times a day for 30 days.
Okay.
So, and then my next question is, so are you already making money with your talent for languages?
A little, yeah.
Okay, so what would you have to be and do different to make a fuck ton of money with your capacity with languages?
I'd have to be willing to be seen, first of all.
That's a really good start.
Yeah.
Yeah, the secret language tutor is going to be a little hard to pimp out.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like even all the things you asked earlier, a million things came up. Being unwilling to be pushy, unwilling to be seen, and unwilling to be a fraud. Like there's a million things that
Yep, yep. So how many languages do you speak?
I speak 3 languages properly, and then 2 languages I haven't practiced in a long time. So
Mm-hmm.
English, Spanish, and French fluently.
So what if you made a little Facebook video in 3 different languages?
Yeah. Yeah. Every time I try to make a video, it's like, no.
Yeah, because you don't try. What you do is you have to get one of these things. You order it from the Apple Store. That's your first thing. Well, no, the first thing is you have to have a Facebook page. Do you have a
Yeah.
Facebook profile page?
Yes, I do.
And you have one of these things. What are they called again, Julia?
Tripod.
Tripod. But also it's like a selfie tripod thingy.
Selfie stick and a tripod.
That's it. Selfie stick and a tripod. Okay. Those 2 items. And then you turn it on and you sing happy birthday in 3 different languages. I dare you. I dare you. I dare you.
I know, and I actually I have an idea of a whole video series that's been downloading in my head about conscious horse, conscious rider topics.
Mm-hmm. Don't do it. Don't do it. Terrible idea. Seriously, just start. So like everything that's stopping you from starting, pock and pot all that shit. Get your selfie stick, get your phone, and just go. And stop judging yourself. And then send it to somebody without even looking at it. Send it quickly to somebody who works with you or a friend. Just go for it.
I don't think people realized how many horrible videos I made for about a year, wanting to throw up every time I looked at them, judging the crap out of myself, and now I'm like the video queen. It was like a year I wanted to kill myself rather than make a video.
Yeah, yeah. You just have to, did you just like, okay, I'm just doing it? I mean, I've really had the same thing. I have been avoiding doing Facebook Live. You know, I finally had to get Merlin here, who's a Facebook Live king, and I said, I need that. I require that energy. Push me. How do I create this? And so I was around that energy, and I'm like, now I'm so inspired, and I'm like, just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to put my headband on and do it.
Girl, you got this. I love it.
And Aurea can do it too. You just have to choose to do it. You have to have your selfie stick, a good one. iClip, Apple Store. I don't think it's that expensive. And just start. Yeah. If you don't start, what would your life be like in 5 years? If you do start, what would your life be like in 5 years?
Yeah, I'm
Alrighty.
really sure it's a choice. I just need to go and do it.
Well, you don't need to. You can sit in your room all day if you want, if that makes you happy. You don't need to.
I love it.
Who's asking that other question, Julia? Can you talk
about?
It's
Jackie, and we were just talking about starting, which is really funny.
That is so funny. So first of all, you start the creation, the money is not an issue. And a humanoid is not motivated by money anyway. So you just start. So like, do you have a laptop? Do you have a computer? You don't even have to have a selfie stick or buy one. Because from what I know, you can use some sort of like photo thing on your computer and make a video too. Can't you, Julia?
You sure can.
Yep. So you just start. You just have to start. It's like you get out of bed in the morning and you make your bed. Do you get out of bed in the morning and make your bed? I mean, no one pays you to do that.
Yes, says Jackie. I'm assuming.
It's as easy as that. But you have to make yourself, and then if it's not, you go pock and pot everything that doesn't make starting easy. I actually use these tools every day and sometimes every hour of my life. Actually, when I wake up, I spend the first 30 minutes pocking and potting myself, going over my, my processes that I'm running on myself. I actually go to bed with the processes running that I'm working on. Do you know I've actually done that for 17 years? For 17 years, I have used these darn processes every day of my life. One of my favorite ones is all of life comes to me with ease, joy, and glory. If you don't have any motivation, fuck motivation. How about all of life coming to you with ease, joy, and glory? Is that fun? Is that possible? I mean, what else is possible?
Corey, can I ask you a question? It's Mandy.
Yes, sure. Hi.
I was just wondering, it's just about having more ease with judgment, because I guess, have you been judged a lot for being really wealthy? And I kind of allow judgment to stop me
Well,
from
it will do
creating money
that.
and wealth.
And that's exactly what judgment will do. So for what reason would you make their judgments of you more important than your life?
I've been trying to look at that a lot, because
well, don't look at it. Don't look at it. Don't try and take the corn out of the poo. Just start destroying and uncreating that is an issue for you. When you, and this is an ongoing thing that I've been looking at too. And not just looking at it, but going, okay, so am I looking for approval here, or am I going to fucking do what makes me happy? Am I going to make these assholes' points of view significant, whether they're people who are related to me or not? Or am I going to do what makes me happy? And you just, even in this, you start. Interesting point of view, they have that point of view. If you can get to the point where everything that comes out of their mouth is just an interesting point of view, it's like you're a duck and it's like water rolling down off your back, you will set yourself free.
Yeah.
And
I do forget that at the time, because it's like it sort of loops in my mind, or and it's like it's like I magnify the judgments.
Yeah, and if you go into your mind, it will always magnify. And it's so funny, because that's what we were talking about at the very beginning of this conversation, Julia. I was, explaining how I have been obsessed with finding the fixing and finding, and desiring to get it right. And who am I getting it right for? I mean, what do I have to get right? I mean, that's just like when I have to admit that I'm slightly insane, okay? So maybe
your best quality.
So you might want to look at, are you a little insane in the area of judging yourself? And so what would it take to come out of that insanity and to judge yourself less? What choice can you make to judge yourself less today, less or tomorrow, less or the next day? I mean, you can do it in small increments.
It's weird as you said that, because when I was asking you the question, it's like my body started trembling. And then when you just asked that question, all that energy just went.
Yeah. And a question will always empower you. And just ask, why am I, for what reason would I make their judgment significant? For what reason would I let somebody else's point of view about me stop me? Fuck that. But go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
One of my justifications for allowing their judgments to get to me is so that I kind of protect myself from like future kind of what I perceive to be like negativity or judgment, even more judgment.
But is that really true? Is that really what it's creating?
It's an invention.
Does that feel? Yeah. And is it even true?
No.
Yeah. So pock and pot all those jails and all those lies that you're putting yourself into that keep you from having fun being you. And again, I think it's a really good word of the day. Fuck those people. Fuck this shit. I'm going to create my life for me and have fun. Now, when you get to be 60 like me, it'll be a little bit easier, because I went yesterday I was Googling something, and the next thing I know, it came up all the stars that died in 2017. There were like 115. stars and writers and all that people, and I went, oh wow, that's a lot of people. Wonder if I, recognize any of them. And I did, and I started going through their bios and their death, and it was from 57 to 90 years old. But some of them were in their late 50s and in their early 60s. And I'm like, except for one girl who killed herself at 33, but I'm looking at all this going, wow, how much time do I have left? And do I desire to keep judging myself and making other people's points of view more important than mine? Who am I living for? Who am I creating my life now and in the future for? Me or somebody else? Who's going to sleep in my bed? Me or somebody else? Who's going to eat the food that I prepare? Me or somebody else? Who am I living for? What are you, like 25 or something? I mean, so maybe it's harder when you're younger, but
thank you very much. 25. I wish I was.
I don't know. We'll have to ask Julia. Maybe 25 isn't quite what it's made out to be. But
No,
we
that's
are
really great. Thank you.
Yeah, because wow, if you don't live your life now as a celebration, like I'm so glad I did what I did yesterday. And today I'm like, okay, I got up. I did a bit of I did some processes. I actually fell asleep during the processes, as I mentioned earlier, instead of getting on my treadmill. Instead of getting on my treadmill, I just knocked myself out. And then, I got up and I did some work on my Facebook with my amazing executive assistant. And then the accountant came, and lots of stuff going on here in this household, right? And I am really happy with what I did yesterday and today. Are you happy with what you did yesterday and today? And I'm actually learning, oh my gosh, I'm learning how to not be so upset about technology. I'm learning to be grateful for technology, which I thought I would never cross that bridge. I'm starting small. I'm starting with my microwave.
My microwave. I love it.
You start where you start.
Thank you, Corey.
You're so welcome.
So Rebecca's asking, can we have a chat about pricing your creations? What questions can I ask that will help me work out a price? For example, I have a capacity for proofreading and copywriting. Do I ask what price would be fun for me?
Of course, you can ask that. And then again, let's go to the reality we live in. If I were you, I would look at what the going rate is. And how desperate are you for the work? So look at the going rate and who's interested in you doing the work, and say, this is what I charge. Does that work for you? And start with what you'd like to have. And if they say, like, sometimes, I mean, when people say that to me, because I always ask first, what would you like to be paid? I go, wow, my business is so young, which is still true. I'm not generating that much money. Would you be willing to take? And then I will then offer them something. And then again, you have a choice. You always have choice. So if you don't set a particular price, if you don't become unmobilized, if you're willing to be flexible, you probably get a lot more work. And maybe some of it's easier and some of it's harder. Do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? If you can be flexible and honest and willing to negotiate, doesn't that feel easy?
Yeah, that does. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just been a real sticky point. But I think also there's the question of, do I really, is that really fun for me, even if it is a capacity that I can, look at a post, for instance, on Facebook and just go, oh God, they're not even getting what they mean, because I don't know, it really freaks me out.
Well, okay, so wait a minute. You said something, is it really fun for me? I'm going to have to go back to, if I can remember, we have this talk with Dane about things being fun for him. Sometimes that can stop you from creating, because yes, your life should be fun for you, and you also have to be willing to do whatever it takes to get to where you want to go.
Totally.
It's kind of like,
I can see the big picture. I can
yeah,
see like
big picture. Stay in the big picture.
Copywriters, like making it massive. But it's also the speed of people posting on Facebook. So they want to post it now. They don't, they've got it coming, their stream of consciousness or whatever you call it, that's coming out of their head. They want to post it, but then they're like, they have to delay it so that you can.
I just got an idea for you. Why don't you why do you, instead of like being horrified at those horrible posts, why don't you just go on and correct them? No, really. Why don't you go on and correct them? Go, well, if you like my post better than their post because it grammatically makes sense, here's my website. I do transcribing. Just do an ad for yourself. That's what I do.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I just have to be that asshole.
You have to be that terrible. Everywhere you guys are not willing to be terrible to create what you'd like to create in the world, will you destroy and create all that?
Yes.
All right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine, shorts, boys, and beyond. Oh my God, I spent 30 minutes this morning writing a text to 2 different men who I didn't want to text anymore, because I realized that I actually didn't want to create an online dating text relationship with anyone, much less someone in a different state. So I had to be willing to be terrible. And I even said, I'm terrible, but this isn't working for me. I'm terrible.
Great. And can you talk about when you developed the Right Riches for You training programs, what sort of questions did you ask in that development time?
So, truth, I had Money's Not the Issue, You Are, and How to Become Money. Those were my 2 books, and I just ate them up, and I did every class based on that, and then I added it to my experience, and I created the programs based on those books and my experience together, and what worked for me and what processes from my private sessions and from my life.
And so that whole thing of being flexible, like if you're seeing that maybe something's getting a better result and that's just happened in a class, then you just add that to the program. And is that?
Well, the class is always, live, new ideas and creations and processes happen in the classes. The class is an orgasmic, organic kind of thing, and processes come up. I mean, Julia, you've been in a class with me, like when you least expect it, somebody asks a question and then this amazing process shows up, and then it goes in the book or it goes in a manual or it goes in reference material. Well, the way I facilitate is very similar to the way all the Access Core classes are. Are you a facilitator?
No, but
okay.
And I haven't done a Right Riches for You class, so
okay.
It's possible to come to Australia.
Well, one of these days, hopefully, I'll come back to Australia. I'd love to, and so we're going to be troopsing around the world right now, creating foundational classes so people can get ready to become a facilitator if they like. So. Yeah, basically it's just asking questions and following the energy and being willing to work with people where they're at.
Brilliant.
All right. What else is possible? So, are we fried or what? What's happening here? It's 3:15?
Yeah, we have about 10 minutes left. Talk to us a little bit more about what you found in the book, The Fortune. One of the questions here is, what can I trick myself into doing today that will make me a fortune right away?
I love that. And actually, the whole idea of tricking yourself, that's something I've been doing for years. I mean, when I realized that with 2 babies, I was always late everywhere I went, what I did was I changed all the clocks in my house back 30 minutes. I pushed them all back 30 minutes. And that was how I began. By tricking myself, I began to create myself being on time. And people went, well, don't you know that you put them back? I went, Yeah, but I tricked myself into forgetting that I knew that I did that. And I began to take that as real. So that's how, for good and bad, we can trick ourselves. So if not for any reason alone, why wouldn't you trick yourself into fame and fortune? So what tricks do you need? Do you need to go, and jump on a box? What tricks do you need to do for yourself to be willing to receive more fame, more fortune? This book, my gosh, if you guys haven't read this book and you're just listening to us talk about it, I highly suggest you read it. It's so amazing. And this thing about never wait, never wait. Never wait. The lovely woman with the languages, please just start making those videos. Just start. Because when you put your life on wait, you stop the create. If you wait, you can't create. Do you see it energetically? You're waiting. You're like waiting. What are you waiting for? For the bus to come? For an earthquake? But how are you able to create when you're on wait? It just doesn't work. Okay. Well, how about this one? So this is a great process. How many sources of fortune are you avoiding to create the limited financial reality you currently have? And everything that brings up times a godzillion, we destroy and create it all.
Yes.
Whew, right and wrong, good and bad, pocket and pot, all nine sorts, boys and beyond.
Run it again. Run it again.
I like it. I like it. How many sources of fortune are you avoiding to create the limited financial reality you currently have? Whew, and everything that brings up times a godzillion, we destroy and create it all.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pocket and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. I have to come down under because I'm looking for this wine. Man of War. That's another thing altogether. Okay, so how many sources of fortune are you avoiding to create the limited financial reality you are currently having? Everything that brings up times a godzillion, we destroy and create it all.
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pocket and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyond.
What page are you reading from right now?
From page 84. And I was just about to say, as a humanoid, you have the ability to see fortune. You have the ability to hear it. It's sort of like the whispers of the future, right? So you have the ability, if you would avail yourself. And so like everything you've done to deafen yourself to the light knock of fortune, will you destroy and uncreate all that?
Yes.
Right and wrong, good and bad, pocket and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyond. So this is again about choosing to listen, choosing to ask questions, choosing to demand a change for yourself. And it's much easier than you think it is. It's really just like turning the page on this book. I'm going to choose to read page 86 today. You all can do that, right?
So, Corey, how do you not go into conclusion about what you're creating that you think could create you a fortune? Because Gary talks about,
well, the minute you notice you're concluding, you just start pocking and potting yourself. Because I don't know about you all, but I tend to conclude a lot, I've noticed over the years. So I've had to pay attention and ask, am I concluding or am I creating? Pock and pot me, pock and pot me. I do a lot of pock and potting of myself. And if you're aware that it's a conclusion, you catch it in that instant and you pock and pot it.
I think I go into conclusion like all the time, and it stops me from really creating.
Yeah.
Like,
and so
in
what
an
do you
expanded way?
Exactly. And then you can ask yourself, so what do I love about concluding? What do I love about being the greatest conclusionist of all time? And make fun of it because you enjoy it, you're doing it, indulge it, okay. And when you're ready to change it, you will. And you won't until kind of just a what?
I guess it's just kind of just a lazy way of stopping.
What?
Or something.
You're lazy? No. That's a little bit of a judgment, you might have noticed.
True.
So are you being really lazy, or is it something else? Is it even your point of view that you're being lazy?
No.
Yes, the lovely, lovely group of people who we call family. Aren't they wonderful? So again, before you start judging yourself, you might ask, is this my point of view? Is this really mine, or somebody else's, or something else? These 3 questions have helped me and continue to help me all the time. It's like the expanded version of who does this belong to?
Yeah.
I still run those processes on myself. And then, Julia, what we talked about, interesting point of view. Those 2 things alone, if you get clear that it's not yours, and if you can get to interesting point of view with all of their stuff, you've got about 85% of the battle won.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say, Julia?
Great.
Well, yeah, I think the very first time I met you, you gave an intro talk in Los Angeles, and you were talking about how you would go for walks. And on your walks, you would count on your hands. You would run your clearing statements, counting your fingers on your hands when you went for a walk. And I loved that. And I have done it, and I thought it was a great tool that I just wanted to share from a long time ago.
Well, thank you, Julia. That's really funny because that was my way. Like now I take 30 minutes and I go up into my exercise room, or I stay in bed and I put on my processes. That's still taking 30 minutes. And I've actually recently expanded it to an hour, because if you can give yourself an hour a day just for you and a day a week, you will create more of a gratitude for your own self and your own life and your own body. So I still every morning take 30 minutes before I get out of bed, or before 9, like people start coming at 9, like, so I get up at 7 and I take that half an hour to 45 minutes. I try to do an hour, but I usually get somewhere between 30 and 45 minutes, and I run my processes. 30 times a day for 30 days. I'm in one right now that I'm running for the next, actually I'm in a couple of them. I'm running 30 times a day. I'm actually finally figured out how to break up the feelings, that stupid song.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So to run it 30 times a day for 30 days is to run it an hour and a half a day. So that would be 3 half an hours during the day. You have to listen to that obnoxious fucking song.
Oh my God. You
So
are
I figured it out.
amazingly committed. I have been given that song as well, and I have not done it.
Hey, let's do a challenge.
Okay. I love
Really?
that idea.
Let's make it fun. It's so annoying, but how different will we be in 30 days after listening to that fucking song?
Oh, exactly.
Anyway.
Okay, I'm down.
All right.
I'm down. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. You really have to just choose to do it. You have to choose to commit. For me, committing to doing an access process is committing to my future.
Yeah.
And that's again back at chapter 5? What would you like your future to be like?
Right.
Really and truly. And at the back of the book, there are these amazing questions. And really, we should probably ask them while we're on here, because then at least they can go back.
Let's do it.
So like, question 1 is like,
can you give us the page?
Yeah, it's page 79, right? Workbook questions for chapter 5. Weren't we doing 5 and 6? Was that my chapter?
Yeah,
Okay,
I just didn't know.
So question 1, what have you all made so valuable about choosing from the menu of this reality that keeps you from having your reality? What a great question asked. Question 2, if there was no conclusion about what you were choosing, what would you create? Mandy. Right? I mean, here's your questions. Here's the book dealing with what you're asking about, guys. Question 3, what strengths are you not acknowledging? Where have you not acknowledged your capacities, your strengths? Are you making yourself wrong, or are you strong? What are you doing? What are you being? How are you being and doing it? Question 4, Ooh, there are a lot of questions in my chapter. Question 4, write down 5 things you've decided you are. 5 characteristics you have. Then look at each of those and ask, is this wrong or is this strong? I mean, really? These are incredibly valuable, eh? Do you want me to keep reading them, or is that enough just to taste?
Well, what time are we at?
3:26.
Yeah.
I mean,
just finish them. There's only 5 more, and they're really amazing.
okay, so cool. So really question with creating with people, but that wasn't exactly what. Damn, that wasn't exactly. That's creating with people, which is really amazing. But where is the one where it's?
Teresa, could you put in an email to read page 90 and 91?
Well, it's really,
I
really
remember
amazing.
reading that too, but it's not popping up.
Right? It's not popping up either. So I'm sorry, but it's definitely in the chapter.
Well, then everybody just has to make sure they reread the chapter.
It's a great chapter. It's like amazing. Wow. Well, has this been fun for you guys?
Oh, this has been great. Thank you so much for being on. You were such a hoot.
Oh, thank you. It was fun. I love doing calls. I love facilitating, and I'm really grateful to you, Julia. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So we have, who do we have next week? We have 2 more facilitators on. We have Susanna Mittermeier and Daria Hansen. So look out for those.
The time changes also next week. It's 2 hours earlier because of the time zone that Susanna's in.
Oh.
Okay. So really present with your times, guys.
It will be in the email for sure.
Okay. Awesome. Well,
yes.
Thank you so much, Curry. You're such an inspiration. And it's just so fun to listen to you and hear, I don't know, just the tools and just the energy that you are, really, more than anything. It's just really, it's exciting. And it's a different future than a lot of us have ever looked at or considered. So thanks for bringing it to the table.
You're so welcome. And the sky's the limit, you know.
Yeah.
Your life is your creation. Are you creating it?
Awesome. All right. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, Kurt.
Bye.